Good morning and welcome to Ag Talk on the Raw, where I talk raw about agriculture and other things that are on my mind. Well, we got lots of things on my mind today. It's actually going to be a little bit of a different. Let me get myself set up here. I should do this before I do this, but I don't do this before I do this. I'm actually going to talk about a guy that got a free airplane and how someone is trying to take it away from him. And the reason I want to talk about that is because a similar thing has just happened to me, not from a airplane perspective, but the same thing has just happened to me in an agricultural sense of the way. So when you have good relationships with your property owners, and they understand what you're doing, and you understand what they're doing and want, and you try to meet those expectations that they have of you, and you try to produce a crop that makes you money. So that's what the whole name of the game is. We are not farming to wear out equipment. I'm not farming to wear out equipment. Equipment wears out, but we don't want to just wear it out and then not be able to afford to rebuild or replace that piece of equipment. So anyways, the name of the channel, that I don't know his real name, but Rebuild Rescue, it was all over the place that he had gotten a free Cessna 401. Now, a Cessna 401, I have not had a personal connection with the Cessna 401 in any way, but I've seen them at the airport. I had seen them at several airports that I used to frequent when I would fly with my uncle. Now, my uncle was killed in 2000 and, when was he killed? 2002? God, it's been 20 years ago. November of 2002, he was killed. I've talked about it on my other channel. I may have spoken about it here. I don't remember. But he was killed when an air traffic controller, there was supposed to be 3 air traffic controllers, and only one was in the seat directing like 4 or 5 different things, and things just got out of hand. And he was high on cocaine as well, so he should have been at the top of this, but not that I ever did cocaine or anything, but I know people that have, and they said, oh yeah, you're like a spastic on it. I don't know, I've never done it, so I don't know. But anyway, long story short, he was doing this stuff. One guy left late, and they did this. Boom. Crashed. Mid-air collision. November 2002. I think, yes, when it was, 2002. Anyway, so this 401, a Cessna 401 is a truck of the sky. If you can fill it with, I actually think that this is the airplane that they used in that Tom Cruise movie when he was a CIA agent, and they gave him all this property, and he was making millions and billions of dollars dealing with just all this stuff. But a Cessna 401 is a pretty tough airplane. It's got twin six Continentals, opposing engines, turbocharged. I mean, these things will move you through the sky, and it will carry any load, and there's tons of storage in this thing. But anyway, whatever. And it's got plenty of fuel. It's got 2 wing tanks. It looks really awesome. So anyways, this guy was at an airport. I think he was taking flying lessons or whatnot, and all of a sudden, he was saying, hey, I'd love to get an old abandoned airplane that's like not running, and get it running. And they said, hey, well, there's the birdhouse down there. And everybody's like, what, the birdhouse? He's like, what, the birdhouse? Yeah, the birdhouse. It's full of birds, bird shit. It's been there for like 20 years. So he's like, oh. So he calls the dude up. He gets a hold of, finds out who it is, makes a phone call or stops by or however the hell this thing goes down, and says, hey, I do a YouTube channel, and it's called Rebuild Rescue, and where I go out and I get stuff that doesn't run and I make it run, and that's what my whole YouTube channel is. So the guy says to him, he says, well, if you can get it running, you can have it. Well, the first thing that I noticed when he said this was, I was like, where's the logbooks? You have to have logbooks. When an airplane is birthed or born or built, however you want to say it, you have to have logbooks. Those logbooks, it starts its life, it goes through its entire life until it's either scrapped or wrecked. And those logbooks, it's illegal to sell them for another plane of that model, but there's people that do it. They'll chisel off the identification of the plane. They'll change the tail number, and now your Cessna 401, whatever the hell the tail number was, now becomes that of the airplane that you, like this wrecked plane. And they go for big, big money. There's people out there that will sell them for big, big money. And the reason they do that is because these, that if you don't have a logbook, you can't ever fly this airplane. The reason they do that is because these airplanes, when I said, when they're built or birthed or born or whatever you want to call them, there are certain things that the company does to upgrade, and in those logbooks, they need to know if they've been upgraded. And like he was talking about in the first or second video that he did on this airplane, that the wing spars needed to be replaced. Well, the wing spars needed to be replaced in my uncle's airplane, and he had a Piper Cherokee Lance. So, yeah. Again, another 6-place airplane, single engine, 300 horsepower. Some bitch would really move 260 knots. I mean, that thing would move through the air pretty quickly as a, light aircraft. Anyway, so the wing spars got replaced in my uncle's. He was a pharmacist, and he had 2 other partners in the airplane. They just came together and said, okay, well, the wing spars on this airplane needed to be replaced, and the owner of the airplane said, nah, I can't afford it. Well, he had spent stupid money on the airplane. What's another $70,000 to have the wing spars replaced? And it does, if you watch the videos or if you know anything about airplanes, the wing spars are actually what reinforce at the center of the airplane, because this is a low-wing airplane, or an underwing, not an overwing, an underwing airplane. They are the aluminum pieces that tie them together and make them strong. Well, apparently in the Cessna they were weak, like they were weak in the Piper that my uncle had. Well, $70,000, he couldn't do anything with it. He said, you know what? I'm just going to let it set. So this airplane sat out there for like 20 years. Birds got in it. The door opened up by itself. Vibrations from airplanes coming in and out will Jimmy locks. They really do. It's just vibration and slowly wind. And, if you've ever been in an airplane that's sitting on a runway, they do just kind of vibrate when wind. You'll feel that shudder through the, there's a cable that goes from the tail section pretty much above the cockpit. I believe that's an antenna. I don't think they do that too much anymore. That's in much older airplanes, but this is an old airplane, like a 68 or a 69. So anyways, last night a new video came out, and I thought, wow, I'm going to watch this, which I don't watch too many videos by other people anymore because I just don't have the time. I'm down. It's a skeleton crew here on the farm, so a lot of work has to be done, and it's being done by me and Tim and Teresa. So right now Teresa's doing tax paperwork and other things, setting up other stuff. She's filling out paperwork and bills and stuff like that. Tim's bringing hay home. I am delivering hay. Oh, and I've got Lewis too. Lewis is running the truck. Lewis is like, he's clockwork, he just goes, makes his circles. I'm doing that as well, bringing compost and lime down. I'm spreading lime while Timothy's bringing hay home. My father is recovering from COVID. He's going on a month now. It was a month ago that I got it, just before Christmas and on the 20th, but whatever. So all these things are going on, and so I don't really have much time to watch these videos. Now you're probably wondering, why is he talking about this stupid airplane on an ag station? Well, yesterday's video, or last night's video, as I watched it last night, I see this, that he gets a phone call, and it's from the guy. Well, he had gotten a text message earlier, and you could tell he was a little bit bothered, and he was expecting the phone call when it happened on film. And actually, it's the thumbnail is him sitting there on the phone while putting his hand on the airplane. Well, the owner of the airplane had given him the airplane if he says, if you get it running, it's yours for free. Well, that's a verbal contract. And the problem is, you get it running, there's no time limit on that. It wasn't like, well, if you get it running in 3 days, it's yours for free. No, it's a verbal contract. If you get it running, it's yours. Well, some douchebag and I'm going to use those words, some douchebag saw the tail number on the back of the plane, like Paul's airplane was 216 Charlie Lima, 216 Charlie Lima, 216261, 216 Charlie Lima, and those numbers, and you can look that up, 216 CL. You can look that up on the NTSB website and read what happened under the NTSB investigations and everything. So, but whatever, some asshole douchebag looks up those numbers, finds out who owns the airplane, calls them up and says, hey, I'll give you $20,000 for the airplane. Well, the deal, and it's a contract. No matter what you say, I see a naked butt.
Mommy, it's good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mommy. We've already said good morning. She already knows I survived the night. So, right?
Yeah.
Because she got me coffee.
Cafe.
Cafe. So this douchebag calls the owner and says, hey, I'll give you $20,000 for it. Well, the guy that got the airplane through the rest, by making this deal, he has rights to it. No matter what, he has rights to it. It's all over the YouTube. There is a contract. It's a verbal contract. It's all over YouTube. There's millions of viewers. Just in 17 hours, this guy's gotten 695,000 views on that video, on last night's video. The other videos are well into the millions. I think he had 4 million on one of them. I was blown away. I wish I could come up with a video like that, It'd be like, holy shit. And I probably could. I know where there's an abandoned airplane, Would it be cool to do it? Hell yeah. Millions of views on a video series that you put out. He's got a little different mannerism about him. He's not so energetic. He's kind of bland, but he's methodic, which is good. So, anyways, it just lit me right up. Like, that son of a bitch. I'd find out who that was that called up and offered $20,000, and I'd, go pay him a visit. Because, it translates into agriculture. So here you got a guy who's got an airplane that could technically be worth, if he puts the time and the effort and the money into it, the work that he's doing is not certified work. He cannot fly that airplane. Even if that airplane was airworthy and he had the logbooks and he fixed the airplane, got it running, he could not legally fly that airplane. It has to go through a certified airplane mechanic. I think they call them APs. Airplane mechanic. That was a career choice for me at one point when my uncle was alive. He said, farming's a lot of work and you don't really make that much. He says, and I know a job where you'll make $120 an hour just doing something fun. I'm like, really? What is it? He says, airplane mechanic. You can go to airplane mechanic school, Wes, and you can work on these things all the time. I'm like, wow, clean shops, heated hangars. Maybe I'll do that. But and I'm going around, I'm kind of getting on an offshoot here. I thought about it. I thought about it long and hard, and he says, you're pretty good at fixing stuff. I'm like, yeah, I guess I probably am. I don't know, and he was a really good guy, my uncle. Miss him a lot. I do. I see an airplane fly, and I think, he was a good guy. The crazy thing was he was deathly afraid of heights. So anyways, because this guy is not certified to work on these airplanes, he can get it running. He can taxi it. But if he lifts those wheels off the ground, he can be arrested. Yeah, the FAA, Federal Aviation Administration, I think. FAA. I get FFA and FAA all confused. But FAA, they can get him. He could be in a lot of trouble. They don't want you flying anything. Unless you build it. If you build it yourself and take off with it, kudos to you, pal. If you trust your workmanship and what your brain put together, you can do that. They do have experimentals that you can fly, paramotors, which I was thinking about doing paramotors at one time in my life, and then I realized, hey, you know what? Those things, if you get a gust of wind, and I've lived in New Jersey a long time, and Tucker he only lives like 12 miles from me. And I've seen Tucker locally. I actually was at Tucker's house a long time ago. He's the same age as Timothy, and he's always been in airplanes. He has a pilot's license and everything, and I think he even jumped out of airplanes and shit like that because he used to pack parachutes for the company that used to jump over here. But anyway, whatever, I'm getting off course. So he can't fly that airplane no matter what. But anyway, somebody tried to snipe that thing, is trying to snipe that thing out from under him. Obviously, I know a little bit about verbal contracts. I actually have a verbal contract with a fella on a piece of property over here. And the verbal contract, actually I have a paper contract as well. My wife wrote it up, and it was for a dollar amount for the ground, and it was for the crop that I was going to grow, and that was it. And it's a 5-year contract. So, I could stick them to it. I really could. But, I'm not going to. I'm going to let this play out and probably end up ahead of what I would be getting if I just did the work myself. So here's the deal. This is how this works. So, you know that video that I did on One Lonely Farmer where I had that great big long dairy barn with this harvester silo and all that stuff? Well, that piece of property is owned by one person, but they're like partners with his brother. His brother owns the ground, and his job was to collect rent on the houses that are back there, and the land was to be farmed by him. He was going to be a farmer when he retires from being a school teacher. Hell of a nice guy, and I like him a lot. I really like the brother, the guy that I had contact with. He's from Egypt. We talk about traveling, and if we ever want to go to Egypt, he'll make sure that it's safe for us to go because we're going to go into the backwoods. And when he goes, they're backwoods, back desert, see Giza, the pyramids, the Sphinx, and all this stuff. And it's a bucket list trip for me. It really is. I would love to go. And what better way to go is with somebody from Egypt. And he's a Christian from Egypt. He's not a Muslim, or whatever you want to call him. Not that it would matter to me. I mean, if this guy if he was Muslim and he acted the way he does to me as a Christian, me and him would be good friends. It really wouldn't make a damn bit of difference to me, and we would go to Egypt. And we may still go to Egypt. I don't know. I have no animosity towards him. I have no animosity towards either of them, but this is what is happening, like this guy's airplane. So this spring, I'm looking for, I know this ground it's not good ground. It's okay ground. It's been fallow, but it's close to the farm. It's easy to put corn in there, and it's easy to get corn out of there. They're big fields, long runs. Life is easy when you're farming like that. Big fields, it's so much easier. Less turning. The combine goes down, the combine comes up, you dump your grain, you get 250 bushels, and boom, off it goes again with the with the wagons, and it came off of there really quick. It's 115 acres, more like 115 acres. It's in there. So there it is. Well, his brother owns 4 properties, 2 big farms, this one and one in Pennsylvania. Well, this one, the brother said to me, "Hey, Wesley, if you're going to plant corn in here," he said, "I want you to plant corn this year, and then next year we could go back into hay because I want to make hay." I'm like, "Okay, no problem. We can do that. But there's a lot of weeds in here, and let's leave it open to 2 years of row crop, whether it's corn and soybeans or corn and corn, and then we go into hay in the spring, which would be an oat crop in the spring and I wouldn't even care if I ever made the oats. Just oats as a cover crop to get the Timothy growing." Okay, we agreed to that. We signed papers that that's what was going to happen. So there's the contract. And I would have it for 5 years. Contract, 5 years. So the brother comes in to get this Egyptian corn that he had planted. He had planted, it looked like Goliath, giant white corn. The shit, you saw it. You saw it on my channel. Stuff had ears like this. It was gorgeous. Well, the brother comes in and he drives down the driveway and he's looking up at the corn and he's like, what the hell is this guy doing? This corn is gorgeous. This is beautiful. How much is he paying rent? Okay. I paid a little bit of rent on the property because it was close. I do that. When it's really close home, I don't have to drive 30 miles. I'll pay a little bit of rent. But I will only pay what I feel the land is worth. I'm not, if it's a pain in the ass property, which this one is, it's close, but it's got issues. It's got a lot of issues. It's got low pH. pH is in the mid-5s, 5.5. I pulled soil tests on this. I was like, ugh. But I was using the compost. The compost has calcium in it, and I felt that I could get away with it. And guess what? I got away with it. Things were good. And that's very common for ground that's been in hay for a very long time. There's a lot of organic matter down there. There's a lot of flora and fauna down in there. And I talk about this all the time. Beneficial fungus, microbial activity, earthworms. When I killed off the grass, it didn't want to die. It took me 2 shots with Roundup to kill this stuff. It was tough. And then I chisel plowed it, and it was tough. It had a thatch on it that deep. Well, that's your organic matter. All those nutrients that had been breaking down from the organic, or from the worms and the microbes and the beneficial fungus is all up in that root mass in that area. Brought it up in there, and grass, when it goes into its dormancy, the heart of the plant stays alive, but then it puts new roots out in the spring. So the old roots die off, and that's where your nutrients are stored. So I'm like, okay, I can get corn in here. All this organic matter that's going to be breaking down is going to also feed this corn plant. And then next year, I'm going to have to lambaste it with lime, and I'm going to have to lambaste it with the compost to keep feeding the microbes and the worms and everything else. No fungicides used, no insecticides used, and the fertilizer that I put down was 650 pounds of, what was that, 12 point something by 23, 2205. Yeah, sulfur. Gotta have sulfur. 10 pound, about 10 pounds of sulfur. So that was my complete blend. 650 pounds plus the compost. So I fed the shit out of it. Oh yeah. Oh wait a minute. 220 units of nitrogen on top of that. Right. So there was somewhere around 260, 280, 300 units of nitrogen on that ground to make that corn grow. I put too many plants to the acre. I was running at 37,700, almost 38,000 plants to the acre. Population was too high by about 5,000 to the acre. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it makes a difference. And my whole goal was to get those plants to just produce one ear, not one ear and a stub. But I did notice that when I did go around corners, because that corn planter only drives from one side, when I would go around a corner, the spacing would space out, and then I would have 2 equal size ears, and they were at like 6-inch spacings. I'm like, damn, that's what I'm doing next year. So I went to my book, and I want my spacing to be something like 6 inches at 32,000 plants to the acre on 30-inch rows. It's something like that. So that's my goal for this coming year. I'm also, and it's not in concrete yet, and I'm getting away from the story, but I'm trying to buy a cheap 8-row corn planter. If anybody knows where there's a cheap 8-row John Deere corn planter that's in super good condition, not beat to death, I want to buy an 8-row corn planter, and I'm going to convert it into a twin row, and then I will maintain those twin rows, but 32,000 plants to the acre in twin rows on 7-inch spacing. So you're going to have a space like this, and then it'll be like, zigzag pattern. So that 7 inches across will equate into 10 inches, right? Boom, little trigonometry, I think, is how they do that. But math, geometry, I guess. I don't know, whatever. It's the shape in which the plants stand. So it'll be no less than 7-inch spacings on those corn on the corn. So 7 and 10, 7 and 7. And then when you go through with a corn planter, it just, or the combine, it just folds them in and down they go. So that's the plan there. But anyway, so the brother comes in and he's looking at this, the actual owner of the property, which I did not know. I thought that the guy I was dealing with actually owned it in like as a partnership with his other brother. He didn't. He just gets to manage the damn thing. And if it was hay, he could bale hay on there and it wouldn't cost him anything because his brother's brotherly love, And that's fine. I'm okay with it. I always knew this was volatile ground anyway. So that's why I had that written contract. So the brother comes in and he says, hey, he doesn't say anything to the guy that I deal with. And he goes back to Pennsylvania where he lives on this one farm. And he calls up the guy that's farming his property. Hey, you got to see this. And the guy's like, what? He says, come with me. We're going to take a field trip over to my other farm. I want to know if you'd be interested in going to New Jersey to farm this ground. The guy's like, sure. So he gets in the truck. They drive down there. They walk through the field. They see that there's ears. They probably did a yield test. I don't think they did a soil test. I really don't. But they probably did a yield check, pulled a few ears, did the thing, whatever, shelled it out, and realized that, hey, this guy is just going to produce about 190 bushels to the acre on this. Between 190, depending on if the left side of the field, that was 240 bushels to the acre. I put compost on that. The right side of the driveway, no compost. Well, just right along the edge of the driveway I did, but on back. And then it turned out there was about 190 bushels to the acre. And there was a backfield in the back that didn't do nearly as good. It was like 150. So it brought the yield down. It's about 190 bushels to the acre on the whole damn thing. So this guy, he's like, yeah, I'll rent this. Yep. I'm going to give you X number of dollars right now for next year. And every year after that, we're going to add 10%. He says, I want it for 5 years. So they do the math. They're like, 5 years? We'll give it to you for 6 years. 6 years, 10%. By the time it's all said and done, I'm like, okay. He says, how much money can you give it? The guy I deal with, he comes back and says, how much money can you give us for this ground? I says, well, honestly, it's not worth a lot. It's wet. It's sour. And when I say sour, I'm telling you, 5.4, 5.5 pH in the top 6 inches. If you go deeper, it gets worse. It is solid clay down there. There is no drainage. We had an inch of rain, and we were fighting to get the last bit of corn off of there. It is wet, 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 wet. I combined that backfield, and I was like sideways, and the corn, I knocked a bunch over. I'll be honest with you. I knocked a bunch over. I should have left that backfield go because of that, but I was like, man, I didn't. But I got it. I got it, and I did okay. I did, like I said, that backfield was about 150 bushels to the acre. It wasn't nearly as good. That is the most neglected field because there's a ditch you got to cross, and I think there's a video on One Lonely Farmer in the spring where I stuck this sprayer tractor, the 8120 with the sprayer on it. I decided I would go through the ditch there. It was nice and level across. It's a swamp. It's a swamp. I dropped it in there. I had to have Timothy come with a 6210R and pull me out backwards. So it is what it is, but still, it's like, wow. Stuck it in the mud. All right. It's wet back there. It's wet everywhere on there. It was lucky we had a dry fall because even as dry as it was, we still cut ruts, and we cut some good ones. So anyways, he says, well, this is what I want, and I'm not going to give numbers. It doesn't make sense to give numbers because there's a lot of people out in the Midwest that are saying, oh, that's cheap, that's cheap. I'm going to come to New Jersey and I'm going to farm. Or guys from up north and they say, oh, that's cheap. I'll come down and I'll farm it for that. Or guys from the South, I'll come up and farm it for that. Anytime somebody comes up and steals ground from me or my neighbors and pays stupid, idiotic money rent, They always leave here with their tail between their legs because they overpay in the rent department, just like this guy is going to do. He's going to pay them. He's already paid them, from what I understand. He's already paid them for the ground at 130 acres. The guy told him it's 130 acres, 130 acres. It's not 130 acres. I had to push bushes back. There's a wedge of trees that on the FSA map is not there, which is there now. There's trees that fell in from on 3 sides. There is a wedge of land that is the former farmer that was on it went down with a deep chisel ripper and ripped up the old tiling, which was only put down that deep anyway, because if you go any deeper, the clay would silt it in and it would be done. So it was shallow to begin with, and they were warned not to do it when they did it, because the old guy that farmed it, he put the tile in there. He said, look, that tile is shallow. Don't go deep. They tore the tile up. There's a wedge that was 4 acres, 5 acres, 6 acres, that was so swampy that I couldn't even, in August, when it was bone-ass dry, there was still water percolating out through it. I took a scraper blade, angled it on a steep angle on a 45 with the, I think I might have filmed it, and I did it with the 4960, and dug a 4-foot trench down through the center of this thing so the water would run into it, and it was still wet this fall. So, and it was wet when it was dry, so it was just, there's lost acreage there. There's probably 5 or 6 acres that is just untouchable in that area. I took, well, let's see, 5 or 6 acres. I'd say there's probably 3 acres in that spot, but down on the other end, just the trees grow in. There's not 130 acres. My sprayer said 110. My corn planter said 110. My mind, this is not 130. It's 110. You know when you're 20 acres behind. 5 acres, not so much. 20 acres, you know. Because you load your sprayer for 130 acres or 100 whatever. Yeah, 100 and... You load your sprayer, you go out and you spray. And then when you're done, because you think there's going to be 120 or 130 acres there, and you realize, hey, I've still got like 20 acres worth of spray left in here. Then you got to go find a place to put it because it's the last field you got. I had that problem. So anyway, so this guy's paid for 130 acres. He's paid big money, like 4 times what I would pay for that property. When the guy came back to me and said, hey, give us your best number. I really don't want you off the property because you've done work here. You've put money in. I was like, no kidding. So I told him, I said, look, I'll give you this money, but I'm not giving you any more. If that got, I said, there's not going to be a 10% increase every year because you're going to be knocking on $200 an acre rent for ground that's only worth $25. I'm giving you numbers now. It's only worth $25. So if I put 3 ton to the acre of lime on, 4 ton to the acre of lime on, 5 ton to the acre of lime on, the buffer pH is 6.2. 6.2. So if you know anything about soil tests, the higher the buffer pH, the less lime that you need to put on. If your calcium levels are low and your buffer pH is high, you put on calcium carbonate to raise your level of pH, and then you put gypsum to raise your levels of calcium. So there's different types of limes that you can put down. Gypsum lime and high calcium lime, high magnesium lime, high manganese lime. You don't need manganese here. High magnesium lime, dolomitic lime is high magnesium, high mag lime. It will raise the pH. You just got to get these amendments into the soil to raise it up. You're looking at what the recommendation for that particular field is, like 7-8 tons to the acre. 7 to 8 tons to the acre to raise the pH to 6.5. Okay? Because the buffer pH is so god-awful low. You can go to Clemson University and you can look that up. They got a really nice chart. Buffer pH, target pH, and whatever the hell else they put in. You type these few things in there, and it will give you how many tons of calcium carbonate lime that you need to raise that pH up. your calcium content, all that crap. So anyway, so this dude is going to come in and he's going to pay stupid money for a piece of property that he's going, if he's really dumb, really, really dumb, he doesn't pull soil tests. If he's semi-smart, and I mean semi-smart, he's going to go and he's going to pull soil tests and he's going to be like, huh? What the hell is this? I could probably pull that soil test up here. Give me a second. Hold on. I got to do this. Give me a second here. So, wow. Okay, so we're going to go back to this one because I've got it. I actually have it. I think this is it. That ain't right. That's not it. Hold on to your horses. This is, yeah, that's it. There should be another one in here. Hold on here. There, hold on. Where are you? Here it is. Here it is. Yeah, that said from 2016, but that's okay. Here we go. I'm going to read off. I'm not going to be able to show it to you, but I'm going to read it off. So you're going to see my eyes drifting to the left. They've got this stupid thing. I need to rotate that. Okay, cool. All right, so that's not it. It's this one. And we're going to rotate that one. Excellent. I love Apple computers. They're just so much better than anything else. There it is. Middle. All right. 5.4 pH. 6, I was wrong on the buffer pH. 6.6 on the buffer pH. Organic matter, 1.2. Oh no, wrong. 3.4. That's where the grass clump, the 20 years of growing hay on the field. That's where that comes from. Phosphate, very low. Potassium, 31. I got to get I don't have a straight line across it. They put them in columns like this, so I got to count. 31,000 parts per million. Okay, 31,000 parts per million. So what does that mean to anything? 31,000 parts per million. 31,000 parts per million, 25,000 parts per million in phosphorus, 31,000 parts per million in potassium, 89 parts per million in magnesium. Magnesium wasn't terrible. Calcium, 262,000 parts per million. CEC, 10.1. Yep. Base saturation, 0.01 of phosphate, 0.29 potassium, calcium. These are percentages. 7% saturation. Sulfur, 3. That's how 3 parts per million. It was that low. Boron, 0.1 parts per million. Zinc, 0.8 parts per million. So if you read this test and you're looking at this thing, you're like, why the fajita would you ever even attempt to grow corn there? Well, the reason I attempted to grow this corn there, or did grow that corn there. All right, hold on one second. I got a call from John Deere. Oh, I don't have my hearing aids on. Hello. Okay. Excellent. Right. Alrighty, well, I'll be out after those then. All right, thank you. Have a good day. Yep, bye. All right, that was John Deere, and I got some more parts that I have to go. Hey, babe, get that boy ready. We're going to John Deere. So anyways, why would I ever attempt to grow this a crop of corn on this property? Well, I'll tell you why. I know the ground. I've farmed this ground. I have webbed feet because of this ground. I know the ground. So what do you do to combat 90% of this stuff? Well, you put what you need in the soil to produce a crop of corn. Okay, 650 pounds of it per acre, plus the special sauce that I have, or the special, there is, you know, that stuff that I say that you can spray on. It's a miticide. It'll stop armyworm as well. It's spider mites. It's aphids. All that stuff it kills. It is non-toxic. You can eat it. As a matter of fact, I've eaten it a lot. Yes, I've eaten it a lot. And the other day, I ate some more of it because I was sick and my throat was jammed up. So you put that stuff on there. I put that on there. What that does is fires up the microbes, and for all that organic matter that I had just killed and worked into the ground, that fired those microbes up that were already there working away, plus the ones I put there from the soil the compost, mushroom compost. Put that in there. Boom, fires it up. The nutrients that are stored in those roots, they broke down. The corn could take them up. If you don't know about potassium, potassium is a funny element. It's rock potash. They mine it out of the ground with hot water. They bring it up. They run it through a desalinization, you know, because it is a salt. They desalinize it, and then it turns into like salt, rock, and then they fracture it, and then boom, it's dissolved out of the ground. That's how they do it. It's a long, drawn-out process, I guess. I don't know. I've never seen it firsthand, but I've read about how they mine potash and phosphate as well. But whatever, it's fine. That's how they do it. But potassium does not move in the soil. So if you've got no available potassium, which honestly, there's no, hold on. There's no available potassium in the soil. Literally, in the soil, there's very little potassium available in the soil. But it's tied up in the roots and the massive organic matter that's in this soil. So I knew, because I know, how to break that stuff down and get it out of those plants and make it available to the new growth. And yeah, so there it is. Now that potash will still be available through the corn stalks that are there. I should go over there and shred them up and take them, bale them, you know, because they are still mine. So, but whatever. I'm not that kind of a douchebag, you know. I'm not a douchebag like this guy's going to be a douchebag. But, so yeah, that's why I did it. I put what I needed there. I got out what I got out, which was an awesome crop of corn. And this other farmer, he saw it and was like, licking his chops. He's like, oh yeah, I'm going to grow corn on that stuff like nobody's got any business. Nobody's got any business. Well, he doesn't realize that in the back there's 3-foot deep ruts, you know, and he's going to have to work that ground. And you don't go into that place when it's wet. Where at home, my home farm, which is less than a mile, well, about a mile away, not even a mile, 3/4 of a mile away, I had planted that corn 2 weeks earlier, a week and a half earlier. Yeah, a week and a half earlier. No different weather. The difference was that place is that wet. The other farms that I had planted, we were kicking dust. I mean, you can go back in the videos and watch. We were kicking dust over there. There was no wet spots at all when I planted that corn. and none of it. But this place that this guy just sniped from me for dumb money, it was a week and a half before that got dry enough. We had to bust the soil open with a chisel plow, and they cut the 4960. I think there's video of that. I have the video of it, but Timothy started on one side, and then he said, "This is just too freaking wet. I can't do anything in here." And I went over there, and he's just spinning mud off the tires. But we had to bust it open to get it to dry out, and we did. Grant was over there for a day screwing around with it, and finally Timothy finished it out. So to chisel plow 110 acres, it took a solid three days, 3.5 days, and we had to do it in stages because the wetter the fields, the less we could do. And then we went over with the disc, and we worked it down with the disc, and I think we worked it down with a disc three times to bust those clods up and get it to dry out. You have to know how to work the soil. If you don't know how to work this soil here in my neck of the woods, you will fail, fall flat on your face. So I just can't wait for this to happen. I'm kind of excited to watch it happen, and I'm going to laugh when it all falls apart on him because, it's just like that guy with that airplane. Somebody saw that there was a free airplane. They researched what those airplanes sell for, $225,000 to $325,000 if they're all fixed up. The thing that he didn't research was what it will cost to get that airplane in flying condition. If that airplane is worth $250,000 when he's done getting it ready to go, I guarantee you it costs $270,000 to get it there. And that's the funny thing about the airplane. Now, with this crop of corn, this coming year, it would probably be a loss for me to put that corn in there to pay for the lime, the compost, the nutrients that need to go in there, everything. Corn will have to be $6.50 a bushel in order for me to make any money at 155 bushels to the acre on that farm. And then you got to sit and worry, am I going to be able to get it? Because that was a huge, from start to finish, that was my worry. I wasn't really worried about putting it in the ground. I was worried about getting it off the ground. And I saved the 100-day corn specifically for that farm. 100. I was really considering going and getting 75-day corn because I knew it would still be dry enough when it would mature. And you know what? Luck was with me on that, and I got it off, even though I was playing in the mud. When I left that farm and went over to the farm that my mother was raised on, there's 100 and what was there? I had a little over 100 acres there as well. When I got to there, there was 100 and between the there's two places over there. One was 23 acres, the other was 80, 90, 110 acres. 110 acres over there. Okay, so there's 110 acres over there. Wow, yay, Yeah, dust flying. It was dry. And they had the same rain. We had the same rain over there. It was no big deal. It just drained better. You dig down into that soil and you don't find pottery clay. You just don't find it. You dig down this deep on that farm that guy just paid stupid money for. You dig down that deep, you can peel it out of there. It's gray clay, pottery clay. Just hack it out of the ground and go make pots. Fire it, and you're eating off of plates that you made from the dirt on that place. It's crazy. And I've got video of that. It is the nicest, smoothest. I think that's where the Native Americans went to get their pottery clay, was that farm. I guarantee you, if you looked around, there is an encampment down in the creek area down there. So it wouldn't surprise me. And those people were extraordinarily smart. So just like the airplane that this guy got for free, if he could get it running, which the binding contract is if he gets it running. And I guarantee you they cause him trouble. I guarantee you they're going to try and steal that airplane from him still, because there's two engines. If he gets one engine running, that's not running and fly. It's not running technically. It's only half running. I guarantee you that son of a bitch comes back at him and says, you know what, I'm going to give you $30,000 the minute he gets that engine running. Gets the other engine running, he'll offer him more money. But if he gets the engines running, it's his for free. And he said that he was going to work all night to get that sucker to run. And I believe him. I believe he will. I believe he's going to get it running. I believe that there isn't going to be a fight. But I'm going to tell you this right now. This is how this works. If someone offers you something, or you go and talk to someone about something, and they say, you know what, that thing sat out there for 20 years, and if you can get it running, it's yours. Or if you can take it out of there, it's yours. And it could be something of value. There's a lot of things out in the world that have value that just sit there and are rotting away. And somebody like myself or this guy who says, hey, you know what, I'd like to get that airplane running. Would you have a problem? He says, you know what, if you can get it running, it's yours. You're naked. You can't be on TV. Hold on. Come here. Hold on. Let me get your underwear on. Get your underwear. Did you get a shower?
Yeah.
Cool. Or you didn't take a shower. You took a bath. You know, that coal is really nice and warm. Let's see if I can get you. Okay, you're good. You're free to run in front of the camera now. So anyway, it's just like that. And it's like this guy. This farmer went onto that farm and saw a whopping cool crop, but he didn't realize what it took to grow it. And then he just says, you know what? I made a lot of money this year. He didn't make shit this year. Any of the corn that he sold this year from last year's crop is going to be eaten up by $1,000 fertilizer. $1,000 fertilizer. Get the hell out of here. You think you're going to pay stupid money on crop or on land that is marginal beyond marginal? I just can't wait to watch this go down. And you know what? When it's all said and done, hopefully he takes soil tests. Hopefully he takes soil tests. Hopefully this dumbass goes out and says to Growmark and says, hey, I'm going to need about 3 tons to the acre of lime to get this thing so that it percolates and, things are better and, so that I can come at least close to what the other guy did. And he's not going to. I'm telling you, I've done this 1,000 times. I've done this 1,000 times. I've gone on to properties just like that have been hay. The first year you put corn into it and it's like, whoa, look at that. The next year you go in being a stupid, young, foolish 20-year-old kid. I just made so much money on that corn crop this past year. I'm going to put corn in it again and everything's going to be perfect without pulling soil tests. The next year it's like, what the fuck happened? What? The ground is hard. Why is the ground hard? Because the organic matter's gone, guy. You didn't put lime in. You disturbed it. You took the aggregate that had formed over the last 20 years of being hay, and you destroyed it with your plow, and you created a hard pan, and God, this, that, the other thing. So my experience and my age and my experience on this ground, I know what I need to do to make that ground produce. But I really was seriously considering putting in soybeans this year on that property for the simple reason it's cheaper. And I could put the lime on it and put the compost on it, and the roots of soybeans only go down 6, 8, 10 inches. 8 inches? 8 inches, about that deep, and they stool out on a 45-degree angle. And the compost that I would be putting on there and the lime that I would put on there, it's not like corn that'll put a root down. Shit, I don't know, 6, 7 feet, or to hard pan down there looking for water. Because whatever. Anyway, so I hope this was a fun video for you to watch. If not, I'm sorry. If it was, give it a thumbs up. Not the dislike one. They changed it to dislike, but give it a thumbs up. And, hey, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe, because I do post kind of regularly here now. I mean, it's a video every week or every other week. Sometimes I'll do 2 in a week. It's it's just a little fun place where I can talk about what the hell's going on in the world and stupid people that show up and do stupid things, and then you got to laugh at them. But I'm just praying that he calls up Growmark and says, hey, I need 3 tons of lime on this ground because I'm going to make 250 bushels of the acre because I'm better than that last guy who farmed it, and he only gave them X number of dollars. Okay. Have at it. I love it. I want to see that. I'm going to watch, And then this fall, when we get a wet fall, or maybe we'll get a dry summer. That was the other thing. That ground dries out to concrete when it's dry. But I had enough of a thatch of dead hay stubble. And there you go. So, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.